You're listening to the Coop Homeschool Podcast.
This is your podcast for community, humility, and joyful fun in homeschooling. I'm Mandy.
I'm Jessica.
And this is The Coop. It's in summer. It's our summer episode.
Yay!
We're going to talk about what is it and why we have it, what happens over summer to our kids as students,
Right.
and what can we do in summer.
Awesome.
All right, so let's get started with our scoop on the coop.
All right. Sophia is dying for a pet, and it's come up on here before, and we aren't really big on having pets, but she's pretty adamant. She's wanted to be a veterinarian since she was 4 years old, so we're considering it. So we gave her a list of things she needed to do. She needed to research how much an investment it is into this pet, what the ongoing costs of this pet are, and how she intends to earn money to pay for it.
Wow, that's really good.
And then we wanted her to do a report on the care of the pet that she's interested in.
What a great way to use, life experience and
Right.
just living life together as a learning experience.
Right.
I love it.
So we talked through different pets that would be appropriate for a 9-year-old, and something that she can take care of and be expected to take care of on her own, as well as easy to move or easy to leave with somebody else. It's not like a dog that's hard to take care of or requires a lot. And she didn't want something as non-interactive as a fish, although that was definitely the easiest go-to.
That
Get
was
you a
top
beta.
of my list.
Yeah, let's get a beta fish.
Yeah.
A solo fish, can't even have any others in the tank. But she didn't go for that. So we're considering bunnies or a rat.
Oh, yeah, you love rats. Oh, my goodness.
Rats make a lot of people react that way.
Ooh.
But I have to say, we've been doing a lot of research together, and we've been looking into rat breeders.
Oh, my word.
Because we're not talking like pet store,
yeah.
snake feed rats. We're talking pet rats.
Yeah.
And they've been trained for centuries.
Yeah, well,
they're
they use them in all psychology experiments.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a completely different breed than the wild,
right.
disease-ridden
Can you
types
cut off
of
their
rats.
tails, though? Because that's the most disgusting part of it.
It's not as gross as you would think. And
Okay.
rats keep themselves very clean.
Oh.
So they're actually very clean animals. And
Well, if they're being bred, too, you're not as worried about disease and stuff like
absolutely,
that.
yeah. And so they're really fun little critters. And
bunnies are so cute. My niece actually breeds, and
Right.
she sells bunnies now for $250 to $300.
Bunnies
a
are
piece.
really cute. They're just a little bit more sensitive to heat and to cold. While they can be trained, I'm not sure they're quite as highly intelligent as rats are.
Oh, wow. And they're a bigger amount of space, right?
Yeah,
like a rat, you can have them in more of a smaller.
Yeah, they're bigger animals, and so they actually need more cleaning, and they're smellier.
Okay, yeah.
And so there's a few factors that play into it. But we found that both are social. So it's not just the amount of time that you can invest in the pet, but also they shouldn't be bought alone.
Yeah.
So having 2 rats is probably more conducive to our house. Yes. Yeah, 2 females.
That's cool. Then each of your kids can have one that they name and that they...
they'll both be Sophia's.
Okay. Yeah.
Since she has to do all the work.
That's true.
They'll both be hers.
Yeah.
And he's only 3, so
that's
he doesn't
true.
get anything.
Yeah, well, you failed to mention the hats that we're wearing.
Yes.
Our Coop Homeschool merch. We're wearing it right now. It started off with a really cute tote bag you gave me. And then now we have these cute jean trucker hats.
Yep.
So cute.
Yep.
But that is not my scoop on the coop.
Okay, that's just your side note.
Yeah. And we have our, since we're celebrating summer, we have our little wine spritzers made with just a little bit of wine and a little bit of sparkling water and some ice. And you have a refreshing drink.
Yes.
So, okay. So my scoop on the coop is we had our family book club actually tonight for the first time.
Oh, awesome.
So we thought it was going to be monthly or maybe every 2 months. Sure. But now, we're... a third of the way through the year or more, actually. A fourth of the way. No, a third of the way through the year. And now we're having our first family book club. And we did Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Deep End, because that was picked by my daughter. But what was fun was, so she organized it, and you know, there were some games that were already in the book. So I recommended, like, if you want, it's totally up to you, but you could do some of the games that they did, like sit on a balloon, and it's like a relay of making it pop by sitting on the balloon. And
hilarious.
So we did that, and we did, you know, the all-you-can-eat hot dogs, or not all-you-can-eat, what's it called? The eating competition. You know, when the pie eating competition.
Right.
Or
so is it timed or how much you can eat?
So I suggested we do broccoli.
Okay.
And that people can eat as much as they want and see how much they can eat. So I gave each person a cup worth of broccoli, and I didn't even finish mine because I can't even stand it that much. But and then we also played the game. It's right here.
Yes. I see it.
Pin the stink on the skunk.
That's so funny.
And so that was really cute. And because the book had a skunk that went and sprayed them in their motorhome.
Right.
So that was fun. And then she had her questions to ask, like your favorite, the funniest moment, the bravest character, that kind of stuff, all from gaining what Marcus usually asks them on the read alouds, like, you know, who you most identify with and stuff like that. Of course, I was like, the mom's the bravest, the mom.
Obviously.
Yeah. So, but that was really fun. And then we picked the next book, or my youngest picked the next book, Uni the Unicorn. So
cute.
Yeah. You got her that book, actually.
Yeah.
So we got the Learn to Read ones, and those are the two that she picked, the two little Learn to Read ones. So that was good, because hopefully maybe she'll read some of them.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to summer. In summer, our girls actually danced to that last year. A jazz
piece.
Jazz song, yeah. Or was it In Summer? No, it was the other Olaf song.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, okay. So why do we have summer? Why do we have it? Farm kids, right? Everyone knows the farm kids, the harvesting, or the growing season. But interestingly enough, on LD Online, it was talking about learning disabilities online, was talking about summer learning loss. And it was saying until the 1900s, it wasn't standardized. And so they had urban schools going 11 to 12 months a year.
Wow.
Because that was what helped the urban communities. And then the 9-month school year was what helped the farming communities. And at that time, there were 85% kids were involved in the agriculture, but now there's only 3%. Okay, but we still do summer now, right? And not because people need to be involved, kids or families need to be involved in the growing season, but because that was the standardized calendar that was set back in the early 1900s.
Sure.
So I thought this was really interesting. So of course, Psychology Today is like my best friend in all research.
It's your go-to.
Yeah. And basically what I found is, you know, it's also a break from the psychologically stressful, sedentary full-time job that we have given our children. So Peter Gray, he wrote this article in Psychology Today called The Danger of Back to School. And I'm just going to read you a little excerpt. In the late 19th and early 20th century, many people became concerned about the ill effects of child labor on children's development and well-being, and laws were passed to ban it. But now we have school, expanded to such a degree that it is the equivalent to a full-time job, a psychologically stressful, sedentary full-time job for which the child is not paid and does not gain the sense of independence and pride that can come from a real job. Elsewhere, I have presented evidence that children, especially teenagers, are less happy in school than in any other setting where they regularly find themselves, and that increased schooling coupled with decreased freedom outside of school correlates over decades with sharply increased rates of psychiatric disorders in young people, including major depression and anxiety disorders.
It's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? So the article's really interesting. We're going to link it on our show notes for you guys to check out. But what he went on to say is showing how there's not much studies on this, but there's one study in Connecticut where there was a psychiatric ER, or there was an ER, and parents throughout the year would bring their kids in for psychiatric reasons. And like they were a danger to themselves or to the family, or they were threatening suicide, or they were so depressed that there was like debilitating situations. So they would bring them into the ER. And what they found is in the months of summer, the number of ER visits went way down. So, you know, Peter Gray talks about, well, is it weather? Well, in May, it's nice weather. In September, it's nice weather.
Right.
you know. But in June is when you start to see the decline, because there's still a couple days in June. And then in July and August, it's really low.
Right.
And then in September, it starts to climb again.
It's crazy.
So he says this is up for discussion. This isn't proof of anything, but it is an interesting thing to note that for some reason,
right,
the psychiatric ER visits have gone way down.
Interesting.
So it'd be interesting if they did more studies. So with all that to say, summer is a break. It's a nice break for students who are working these full-time jobs, possibly studying things they don't care about.
Yeah.
Okay, and then number 3, why have it? The National Education Association in 1987. So this is old, but you know, summer's been around since the 1900s or even earlier. So they questioned having additional time in school because they said it could lead to additional fatigue for students and not necessarily increase their academic achievement.
Right.
So I thought that was all very interesting.
That is very interesting.
Yeah. And then, so what happens over summer? Right?
Right.
So learning loss is a major problem. I'm like dripping sweat. Anyway, so learning, and it's summer, so it's to be expected.
Right. It's perfect. It's a nice hot night out.
I'm wearing my Sea Star shirt and
Perfect.
my turquoise necklace, but I'm very hot in here. Okay, so what happens over summer? So there's this article on Psychology Today called "What I Forgot Over Summer Vacation" by Lisa Tolan, and then I also found an article on the Learning Disabilities online website as well. It says the same thing. Basically, kids lose, when they take a summer break, they lose 1 to 3 months of math skills and spelling skills. And then reading is the least affected. Because most parents know to say, oh, you should read, or here's a reading list. Especially in the more middle income and higher. The higher the SES, the less affected they are. And then if they're at the poverty level or low income, they are still affected in the reading area.
And schools send them home with reading lists. I think that's common practice these days too. So not only do parents encourage it, but the schools are really working to try to keep them reading over the summer.
Yeah. And reading's a little different than, like, reading, a parent can say, go read, or let's read this book together. Whereas a parent's not going to sit down with math and say, let's do this math together. It doesn't seem like a summer thing.
Sure.
And then also learning loss happens because there's breaks in rhythm of instruction. They said kids with special needs need that consistency.
Sure.
And they also said, especially like kids who have English as a second language, when they come home and English is not being spoken in the home, they see a lot of falling behind or learning loss when it comes to English language development. And then, and what they have found is when school starts back up again, overall, the higher SES, the social economic status, kids definitely have an advantage, an educational advantage over the lower income students. So, so I found that all very interesting, and that's
interesting.
That's now out there for us to discuss and think about. One thing I just wanted to kind of mention is, or ask, do our kids need a break? I mean, they're homeschooled. They're not in the same kind of situation that Peter Gray is talking about. They're not in this full-time sedentary job. But do they still need a break? Do we need a break? What do you think?
I think it all depends on the model you use. You know, mine is pretty laid back. And so I feel like we don't really need a break. Right. I feel like continuing the way that we're doing things is great because we do take a break. Mm-hmm. When we're not feeling it, we do take a break. And so it's hard to say, like, let's not even open a math book for 3 months. You know, like that sounds crazy for me just because we already don't take a really strong-handed approach to academic time. Right. And so, but there are times where I'm definitely not as concerned about opening that math book because I do consider most of the summer different types of learning opportunities. My kids do camps and they do other things. And so it's just different type of learning. So it's not a break because we don't need a break from what we already do. Yeah. It's just a different way of learning because that's kind of what society as a whole does over the summer. Yeah. That's when the camps are offered.
Yeah. And I feel like learning with my kids is how I interact with them.
Right.
So, and we'll say a list later about whether it's like playing games with them or doing like a certain kind of kit with them or, or even just hearing about camp and showing up for them to present or whatever.
Right.
That's how I interact with them. So if I got rid of that, I'd be, for me, going to the museum is what we do for school.
Right.
So going to a museum in the summer, that just means it's going to be
thing.
crowded.
Right. It's the same thing.
I don't even know if I want to do that.
I think a lot of homeschoolers feel that way, and they actually may be a little more focused on the at-home work during the summer because that's when it's harder for us to go to the places that we enjoy going to without the crowds.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like my kids do appreciate a break probably from the math book. Since this year I was heavy in math because as I've talked about before, we did not dive in deep until this year and really stuck to our curriculum. But what I used to do is try and use our math curriculum in the summer because we could never get to it during the year. So I was like, okay, summer, that's what we're going to do every morning.
Right.
And it was game based. So, and manipulatives based and a scale and it was, fun at the kindergarten level.
Right. I was going to say your kids are younger then too.
Yeah. So, but now we wouldn't be doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I find interesting is that, and I don't know whatever came of it, so it would have been interesting to research it for this episode, but in my elementary school days here in Southern California, at least one school district tried a year-round program.
Yeah.
So taking away the 3 months off in the summer and instead having rotating months off. So it was kind of a twofold decision, I think, was to help with the learning loss and then also to be able to rotate classrooms. And so you could accommodate more students on campus because one whole classroom in each grade level would be away for a month.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And so there'd be just one designated classroom or class that would be a rover and it would go into the empty classroom.
What about the teachers? Do the teachers get a break? Because
I assume they get the month off too. They just don't get their whole 3 months over summer. They get the rotating month. And then, so at my school, there were 4 different tracks. And so I was on one where we had off in August, December, and April. So we kind of had the best of everything.
The normal off time.
And then some were, July, November, and then they would still get a shorter winter break, so just the holidays. And then they had March off. So again, that kind of was similar to a spring break time.
Well, what's funny is when you homeschool, you basically do take December off.
Right.
Already.
That's what I'm thinking is I mostly year-round homeschool, but that's because I take a month here or a week here and a week there. And so it all evens out in the course of a calendar year.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think of things so much in schoolwork when I think of accomplishing them on a certain timeline.
Right.
It's just that because so much is oriented around the school year, it's hard not to think of it.
Right. And it's kind of just nice to have a break for ourselves.
Totally.
So, and use that time to like recharge, refresh, but then also focus on, so let's dive into what we can do in summer. So the year round, right?
Yep.
So you can do the year round and then you really can take all of December off or, choose to go December 15th to January 15th and just feel really good and no pressure.
Right. You still get your 180 days in.
Yeah. And then there's, summer specific experiences. So like I was mentioning, I was doing math, but that could include, last year I did a Yum tour, a universal Yum tour, and we spent a week going to the countries and that worked out easier than Atlas Crate because Yum was more just food. And it wasn't a whole bunch of activities. So we could just enjoy the food in one day and watch some YouTubes and not do all the extensive enrichment that I normally do for a Yum box. And it was really fun, and so that kind of broke up some of the summer. And then I last year I started bookending it. So I bookended it with one trip and then with another trip. And then last year there was like 5 or 6 weeks in between. And this year there's 5 or 6 weeks in between as well. And so, so our summer is more of 5 or 6 weeks where I am not having them do like their workbooks and stuff, but we'll play games constantly. I'll set out the Kiwi Crate kits. That's when now Ruby's going to do, she's going into 4th grade, the Multiplication Nation. So Alex Cagitani, we have a blog about it and we'll link it here, but he has Multiplication Nation and my son did that last summer and got a lot better at his times tables and he loved it. He thought it was really fun. And so I know my daughter who loves doing stuff on the computer. She'll love it.
She'll be all in.
Yeah. So so that's going to be her special thing that she gets to work on, Multiplication Nation, this summer. And then last year, they keep asking already, are you going to set out all the kits like you did last year? I lined the walls with our kiwi crates.
That's awesome.
Other when people give you gifts for birthdays, whether it's like origami or embroidery or push needle or whatever, I set out all those too, because we just can't ever get to those because they need my help.
Yes.
So I set all those out, and so Micah had his stack, Ruby had her stack, Maisie had hers, and then they could get to it whenever they wanted. And since I wasn't trying to fit anything in, they could ask for my help, and then I'm like, awesome, this is our play today. So they're really excited to do that again this year.
That's really cool.
And I already have a bunch of kiwi crates for that. And then also the bucket list. Yes. So I don't know if you remember, but when our kids were in the Enrichment Academy, they did that. They came home and they had this bucket list for the summer. And it may have just been my son. I don't know if it was the girls too.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, so it was just him, and I think that was for second grade maybe. And I feel like Micah did it when he was in kindergarten too, but they drew pictures of what they wanted to do for the summer. Cute. And it's really cute to see what they want to do. And it's like setting a goal too, because then that tells you as a parent, they really want to go to the beach a lot, or they want to learn, to play soccer or whatever. They want to make 3 baskets a day, whatever it is. And so I like the idea of a bucket list too, as a summer specific experience. And it could be that they want to go camping, or they want to kayak, or set up the hammock. If you have a camping hammock, set it up, and just have it out all summer. So the other thing we do that's summer specific is we spend a week with my parents.
Right.
And now they're only 2 hours away, but that's when we do the Orange County Fair. Mm-hmm. That's when we go to this art place called the Sawdust Festival.
Right.
That's when we go to the beach. And then last year we also rented kayaks and went through the bay and stuff, and that was really fun. And it's just a really neat time with the grandparents too.
Yeah.
They did some projects at the house. My mom set up a Lego table with them and had like a little Lego kit for them to open every day.
So cute.
Yeah, to play. And then that table's still up. So every time they come, they know that they have this Lego table.
That's so cute.
It's like 2 folding tables. So so they have it at their house and at our house. It's the year of Lego for sure.
Oh my goodness.
Is there any summer specific stuff that you guys do?
Summer specific. Usually we do manage to take some kind of vacation, because in years past, both of my studios would be closed the same week or 2.
Oh, nice.
And so then I would have no work, and the type of work I do, I don't get sick pay. Mm-hmm. So if I take off, not only do I have to get my classes covered, but then I don't take home any money, which is fine. It's totally fine, but it makes it harder to plan vacations during that time. And so we often try to do things in those 2 weeks. So that's kind of the past. Obviously last summer was weird because both studios we didn't get any time
and
off.
Nothing was open.
Nothing was open. So it's hard for me to think of it as being a consistent thing because last year was different.
That's
but
true.
normally we do our camps. So normally I teach dance camps, which are really fun for
5
me.
weeks in a row, don't you?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I think at my most insane, it was about 5 weeks of them. Typically, I think I land around 2 to 3. I guess I rotate and I do different places too. So I guess I maybe do 3 weeks of dance camp, then I did a camp somewhere else. And yeah. So it's a lot. But my kids, or at least my daughter, usually comes too. And so Sophia gets to do all these camps, and now the girls have their ukulele camp.
Yeah, this summer. Last year they did the ukulele camp, and this year they're doing it
Sophia
too.
did it the year before that by herself.
Right. Yeah.
So this will be her 3rd year doing that. So that's become a summer routine for her. And then usually one of our family members, my husband's uncle, comes every summer. So then we usually kind of set aside as much time as we can to be hanging out and go to the beach and doing all of that stuff. But recitals for me are big because they're both both my studios have their big annual shows in the summer. So for me, when I think of summer, I'm usually really busy. I don't have a lot of downtime. So it's actually very opposite for me is I don't do more summer specific fun things because it's just so busy. So I don't want to overplan my summer because it's already really
Well, your dance camps are so enriching and so fun, and it's dancing and it's art and it's history and it's creativity and it's a whole bunch.
They're super cool, but now the girls are actually
they've aged out.
And so now I'm debating, do I even want to teach it if my kid doesn't benefit from it?
Well, can she be a helper?
Oh, my kid can come for sure, but I don't know if she wants to be there without a friend. She's not really old enough to care much about helping others yet in that way. True. She's not really the big sister, mommy type in that way. So we'll see if she grows into wanting to be an assistant. She's already asked to be an assistant at farm school someday.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
I think it depends on where and why.
That's a great idea.
So anyway, my summer's still up in the air because there's just a lot to be debated.
But that's what's fun, right? Like to not know.
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It's just, So.
Yeah, we have our 2.5-week road trip, and then we'll have our summer, and then we'll have a staycation for a week at my in-laws. So that will be really fun, and it was the same last year, but it was a road trip. We actually flew.
Right.
But same exact thing, and we loved it.
Yeah.
So
the new thing we are doing this year is planning to end our summer with our road trip.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, because we wanted to wait until everyone went back to school, since it was a weird year of everybody was kind of off on our,
everybody was camping
schedule.
And road tripping.
Yeah. So I am kind of looking forward to things going back to its usual with all the regular schoolers back full time.
Oh, I know. It's like that. There's that meme, The Wizard of Oz, the nice witch.
Oh, sure.
She's like, you can come out now. And it's like, Munchkin Land.
Right.
But it's when all the traditional school kids go back to school, now all the homeschool kids come out like the little munchkins.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we're going to take off as soon as school starts, I think early September, right after Labor Day. And then we're talking about taking 3 weeks. So then we'll actually possibly be back right at the start of fall, which will be kind of fun.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love all these ideas. Like, even though we're talking about ourselves,
right?
Hopefully we can spur some great ideas, and we'd love to hear everyone else's ideas too.
Totally.
So, also what's really great about summer is freedom.
Yes.
So, although you don't have as much freedom as you just got done saying,
but
most of us do, right? So if we do take a break, the freedom of the kids really getting to grow and develop their interests is a really great thing. So if you make things available to them, they can get into your art supply whenever they want. They can get into their kits when they want. They can go outside when they want. Who knows what they're going to develop and grow in. And so I feel like for homeschool families, we don't really ever use the words learning loss.
Right.
Because there's no learning loss. Like you might have to review a skill they haven't done for a couple months, whatever subject it is, and review it for a week or two, and then they're back on track. It's not, not like, oh no, we've got to review for 1 to 3 months now and get them caught up. No, they just did a whole bunch of learning, and now we're in another season of learning, and then the next season, Christmas time is its own season of learning, all the Christmas crafts and experiences that we do. So I feel like homeschooling can lean into the seasons more and just enjoy what each season has to offer. And I was actually going to tap into my preschool curriculum and see what activities she suggests for summer.
Yeah.
Because
awesome.
I thought my kids are still 11 and under. They're going to love preschool activities.
Right.
These creative, nature exploring activities. Yeah. Another thing I thought of, which would be really fun this year that I want to ask each of the kids to do, is to come up with a new hobby. Mm-hmm. So I still want to do macrame. I said I wanted to do it in my New Year's resolution or New Year's goals. I still want to do that. And my kids need help with knot tying. So I did buy a knot tying game.
Nice.
And then I thought, once they play that, maybe they'll be more willing to help me with the macrame, because I wanted that to be like a family, or at least with the kids. And then when we hang the macrame, it's like, oh, I did that line of knots, and I did that line, just like a memory making thing that I have even when they fly the coop, Yes. But so that would be like a hobby for me. And then I'd love to hear what my kids, like a new hobby for them to develop. If they say they want to do more basket weaving, I would love to get some basket weaving stuff for them, or whatever it is.
That's awesome.
Okay. So one last thing is, how do you want to kick off? How do you kick off summer? How do you want to kick off summer? What would be like your ideal summer kickoff.
That's a tough one.
I know.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. The last day of the school year is also the first day of your summer. Like if you're going to be
vacation.
Yeah. If you're going to be that distinct. So for us, it's our road trip, right?
Right.
But I do like on the last day to like have them hold up a sign. We do the photo montage. Last year we went to our friend,
Mm-hmm.
our neighbor. It has a pool, so we went swimming at their pool. But in the past, I think as long as our passes were still valid, I think I went to Disneyland or SeaWorld and just like earmarked that season ending with like a special experience like that. And the next day they were doing Multiplication Nation. You know what I mean? You know, it's not like there was no learning to be had after that, but it was just a way to mark, okay, our regular structure and routine is done with for a time being.
Yeah, we typically don't, because most of our structure and routine is organized around the commitments outside the home that don't end.
Right.
So I think in my home that just looks a little bit different. And because I'm really not one to make a big deal of the first and last days of school, I don't also have a big, way to kick off summer vacation in that way. I'd be more inclined to celebrate the summer solstice, which isn't until June. Though.
Yeah.
So it's like a month after you begin your summer school.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of a different situation.
But that kind of coincides also with your dance recital.
Right.
So that's like
Father's
to me,
Day,
that would
summer,
be the end is when the dance recital ends. You get that week or two off.
Exactly.
And then to me, that would be like, all right, summer hit.
Yeah, because we have Father's Day, then my big recital, then yes, the week off, even though I'm usually teaching a dance camp somewhere else in that week off.
That's true.
But that's okay. This year, ukulele camp is not that week. It was
good.
in the past, last year, I think we were driving them to ukulele camp that last week. But anyway, or it would have been. The recital didn't happen then.
Oh, yeah.
It's like such a weird thing. Recital is always that weekend in June for my entire life because that's what it was when I was growing up. So
yeah, that's crazy.
It's a weird, so summer doesn't start until then because we're not allowed to go on vacations when it's...
You can't.
Yeah, before recital, so yeah.
Yeah. So there's a blog that's up that has a bunch of ideas for how to kick off the summer or end your school year. And some like very simple water balloon filling kits and things like that. So be sure to check it out at thecoophomeschool.com.
Awesome.
All right, so let's get to our next segment. Called the Coop Q&A.
We've been debating the title here because we settled on what was easiest to say, which was
Coop questions.
Yeah, Coop questions. But we also really liked Coop Q&A, except that I'm afraid I'm going to mess up.
We can't say it.
Coop Q&A.
Yeah, it's never. I was being facetious.
Right, but it's hilarious because it would be so fun to use. So maybe we just make it a bit, and now it's the Coop Q&A.
Coop Q&A. That's so cute.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
Coop Q&A. Anyway, this week's question was, what made you decide to homeschool?
Okay, am I going first?
Sure.
All right, do you have an hour? No, I'm just kidding. So, what made me decide to homeschool? I would say, number one, time with my kids, wanting to be with my kids. Number two, I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
Right.
Number two, I saw kids who were homeschooled and I loved their personality. I loved their interaction with adults.
Right.
So time with my kids, what it develops socially in my kids. And three, just the freedom to live life the way we want.
Yep.
And four, it's just probably part of the freedom, just time. Just time.
Right.
Time to do what I want.
I know, because there's so limited time with your children.
So the freedom to explore interests and dive deeper, but then the time to do what I want, to go to Disneyland when I want to go to sleep in, to not be in a rush.
Yeah.
All that. What about you?
Love that.
Oh, and mine, is I did talk about that on a blog called What is Homeschooling?
Yep.
And we'll link that for you in the show notes.
Yep. And then we both talk about it in our introductions episode 0, we called it. So
that's right.
Yeah, episode 0, we talk about our different callings to homeschooling and really where it stemmed from on a much deeper, more personal level than these more surface, simplifications.
Right.
But, yeah, I would say mine are definitely freedom in all kinds of capacities.
Yeah.
But freedom, personalized education.
Oh yeah, that
Right?
too.
Obviously. Yeah. I know you mean that too.
Yeah.
But I'm
Forgot
glad
about
you
the education part.
I'm glad you didn't take all the answers though. So.
I know. I'm like, let me go first.
Yeah. Personalized education. I really love being able to customize the learning and make sure that I know how my child learns, and so that I can serve her well, or him when he's ready. And then, together time.
Yeah.
Just time with those kids to really know who they are and set those foundational relationships and character development.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. When you're dealing with all the stress of being away from the home for so many hours and what goes on at school, if you even know what happens, let alone to be able to speak to the hearts of your kids on a regular, positive basis. And so I just, that character development was really an important factor.
Yeah. So many wonderful positive things of why we homeschool.
Totally. And then I talk about mine in Why I Homeschool on the blog as well.
Yeah. Why I homeschool.
Why I homeschool.
Yeah, exactly.
All about it.
Okay. So if you have any questions for us, please email them to us at mamahens@thecoophomeschool.com. Or you can go to the podcast page, actually, at thecoophomeschool.com/podcast.
Yep.
And fill out the contact us or answer.
Yep. Yeah. Contact us form.
Yeah. We'd love to hear from you and get your questions and discuss your question on the show.
Definitely.
All right. So that is summer and why we need it, why we have it, and what we can do.
Thanks for listening. We love your support. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave a rating and review to let us know how we're doing, and share our podcast with your friends who need a little community, humility, and joyful fun in homeschooling.